following announcement has been paid for by the new Howell order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I had a chance to take a look at the film last night. Shout out to the entire Mob Squad. Stand up. We in the building. You know what it is. Also, shout out to all my patrons out there. Film was excellent last night. We had a great session. Lots of good, meaty stuff to chew on from that 35-33 victory over the Denver Broncos. A lot of good, a lot of positives came out of that film. A lot of not so good came out of that film. And I think if you want to just make it as plain as day, cut and dry, black and white, as you can possibly make it, the defense has a lot of work to do. That front is as advertised, and they're the reason we won that game defensively. Because without them, if we were just relying on the strength of the secondary, we would have been cooked against the Broncos, and they would have kept scoring, and we would have lost that game, and we would have given up 40 points. A lot of guys wide ass open in the secondary. Russell Wilson just didn't have time to get to him. There was immediate pressure, or he was flushed and his eyes dropped from down the field. And so he didn't see the guy running wide open with 15 yards of space in every direction. And I'm over exaggerating, but there were guys running open with literally 5 yards of separation in every direction. And if he catches it, he's probably going to gain another 15 yards. Like there were that kinds of, bust in coverage and, concepts that they were able to get guys open. And luckily enough for us, Daron Payne would get into the backfield, or Chase Young would move Russell Wilson off of his spot, or Montez Sweat would bull rush the tackle into Russell's lap. And now his eyes drop from downfield, and now he's looking for somewhere else to go. And he doesn't see the guy coming wide open across the field. And pressure will make you inaccurate. Russell missed some open receivers in some critical spots. There's a third down in the third quarter where Jerry Jeudy is wide open. Might even been the second quarter. Jerry Judy's wide open underneath. I've talked about this play numerous times because you can't miss that. But he did. We caught a few breaks. That line is as advertised. We need the rest of the defense to catch up to what they're doing if we are to be successful. You can't have the kinds of bust in coverage. Jack goes with a double cat blitz against a two-man show on a 8-man protection, right? And that's how you get the touchdown to Marvin Mims Jr., 60 yards, right? Like, we got caught. I mean, we got caught, right? But we still got to be better than to just give up a 60-yarder just like that, or to get cooked down the sideline and give up a 40-yarder. So I look for more improvement from them. Just like the offense, they're not, innocent in all of this. They got stuff that they can work on. Studs and duds for all of you mob members and Patreon supporters will be up at some point after this video. It's already done. It's already in the oven. I just got to put the final touches on it, upload it, and get it to you guys. So be on the lookout for that. Either first thing in the morning for some of you who are going to be tucked in after this is done, or before it's done, or, look for it later on tonight. I'm probably going to put it out as soon as I'm done. I'm not going to wait. So you're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be available for your consumption. So, and most weeks, that'll be out on Wednesday. I like to get all of the LTN exclusives out on Wednesday for you to enjoy so that we can move on to the next opponent, right? I don't want to be talking about last week's opponent on Thursday. So this has been a helter-skelter week with, everything going on with my schedule because I was out of town. But I'm back now, and I look to get back to some level of normalcy. But with that said, I was so impressed with the offense. I mean, how could you not be? Watching the film, Sadiq Charles was outstanding. I thought the entire interior offensive line from Gates to Cosme were just fantastic. And, the real concerns on the offensive line, reside, coincidentally enough, with the tackles, right? I mean, the two guys that didn't play in that final preseason game against Cincinnati are the two guys that right now give you pause on the offensive line. As crazy as that may seem, but I feel good about the three interior guys. From guard to guard, I don't have any issues on this team. Feel really good about where we are there. It's all about those guys. And even Leno, I've told you guys this before. You can do a hell of a lot worse than Charles Leno Jr. Wiley, I like Wiley. Again, there are just some deficiencies in their games, and you just got to find a way to mask them. But they don't get beat on a regular. Again, Sam Howell, most snaps has plenty of time to throw the football. It's that occasional snap where one of them gets beat where you go, oh, shit, here we go. And Sam's got to do a better job. Like, again, just like the week before, Sam was sacked 4 times. I'd say 2 of those sacks are probably on Sam. Sam can't get out of the pocket, scramble to his right, stop and post up and expect no one to be coming from the backside. Charles Leno did a great job of pushing Randy Gregory around the pocket. How's he supposed to know Sam's going to run out of the pocket and stand there so Randy Gregory can track him from behind? He doesn't. That's not on him. I know a lot of y'all are going to charge that to Charles Leno's account. That's not his fault. So Sam can be better, and he's talked about that. We'll talk about that. Sam spoke today. So did Ron Rivera, and we heard from a slew of players, a bevy of players. So we'll talk about what was said a little bit later on in the show. But something that I don't think enough people are talking about, and winning masks a lot of things. It is the ultimate deodorant. Penalties. We had 8 in week 1 for 70 yards. We had 8 in week 2 for 71 yards. That's not good. You know what we're averaging right now? I know some of you aren't mathematicians, but take a guess at how many penalties we're averaging per game right now, and how many yards we're averaging in penalty yards per game right now. I'll give you just a quick second to think about it. You done yet? We're averaging 8 penalties a game and 70 yards in penalty yards a game. How about that? That needs to stop, okay? We need to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to stop having penalties. We have to limit the amount of mistakes, because still, I'm not certain yet that we are good enough to overcome mistakes. Self-inflicted wounds, right? We're not sure that we're that team yet. I hope we're that team. I feel like we're rounding into that team. But are we really that team yet? I would like to not find out by simply just reducing the amount of penalties that we incur a game. That would be the best thing that we could do, is to go from 8 to 5 penalties in week number 3 against Buffalo. Take baby steps, okay? But 8 penalties is a lot. And most of them are on offense. Most of them are on offense. Holding penalty here, false start there, stupid avoidable shit. That if we just clean up this technique, and some of them I'm like, that's a ticky-tack call. I don't really like it, but they called it. What are you going to do? Right? It's the ones like offsides where you go, come on, bro. That's not subjective. That's clear-cut, black and white. There's not a ton of, there's a little gray area. Did he get back in time? Did Chase really jump offside? He moved first. And if that tackle then moves because he moved, he's in the wrong. And that's what happened down in the red zone after, Montez Sweat gets a sack on Russell Wilson. Chase immediately gives him back the sack yardage and puts him right back at the 4-yard line after he was moved back to the 8-yard line. You can't do that. Chase also picked up a personal foul, roughing the passer penalty, when it would have been 3rd, and I think they actually had a good completion. I think it would have been like 3rd and 4. But we were up 11. I'll take my chances with 3rd and 4, and let's just see what happens. They don't convert the 3rd and 4, then it's 4th and 4, and this is for the game. And if they don't convert that, the game's over. So, got to be smart, right? That said, the offense was so much fun to watch. EB's construction of the offense, the players' execution of the offense was excellent. We were extravagant in the red zone, 3 of 3, right? That's how you score 35. You don't score 35 points by kicking field goals, correct? Right? We're here, right? You scored 35 by scoring touchdowns, which we did in this game, by the way. We scored 4 of them, okay? So that's how you get 35 points, by scoring touchdowns, not by kicking field goals. So we were fortunate to find the end zone quite a bit in this game. And that needs to be something that continues to happen. And if we continue to execute the way that we did against Denver, particularly, and honestly, even in the first quarter when we struggled to score, we were moving the ball. There were only maybe 2 possessions in the game where you go, okay, yeah, we didn't really get it done on that possession there. And the Broncos did help us out with penalties down the field, holding and illegal contact and things of that nature that gave us first downs, but for the most part, we were moving the ball with regularity. We were spreading it around. I still think we can do a better job of getting the receivers more involved and seeing those numbers kind of jump up. But, hey, we're winning. And if it looks like this the entire season and there aren't a ton of 100-yard performances to go around, so be it. But I feel like at some point, Jahan's going to have one of those games. At some point, Terry's going to have one of those games, and we're going to start to see more out of the pass game with the receivers in mind. We still haven't gotten a 300-yard passing game from Sam. He was literally 1 yard away from it in week 2. But, man, I tell you what, if you watch the film, you couldn't walk away discouraged by what you saw from the offense. You had to walk away saying, hey, we haven't even gotten to our peak abilities yet, and we're already dangerous. This thing could like, you remember last year when Carson Wentz was coming on board and we kept talking about what this offense could be because we finally had a quarterback that could make all the throws. We didn't know if he would make the throws. We just knew he was capable, right? And we talked about how that would open up so many things. We got Jahan Dotson as a rookie, and we think this guy could be really good. And you got Terry, and Curtis was coming off of a really good year finally. So you felt good about Curtis. And, Curtis wasn't coming off of a good year. You didn't know what you had with Curtis quite yet until he turned in the year that he turned in last year. And so you felt like if Curtis could be healthy, if Jahan can be what we think he has a chance to be, if Terry just continues to be Terry, we got a chance to do some things, right? Now we know what Jahan is capable of. We know what we get out of Curtis, and we know what Terry is. And now you add in other weapons, and then you add in EB, but most importantly, Sam Howell at the quarterback position. And this offense has a chance to be everything we thought it could be last year, this year. Remember, I said something to the effect of this, we're going to score over 30 points 6 times. I said that last year. We scored over 30 points once, and that really wasn't the offense is doing. That was more of the defense, creating turnovers and short fields, and then Casey Toohill obviously picking up the fumble at the end of the game and running it in, and that's how we eclipsed 30 in that game. We didn't score 30. No other game did we score 30 points last year. And I said we were going to score 6 times. I think that may ring true this year. Like, that's the capability that we have on offense. With what EB is capable of, what this offense has at its disposal, and then the quarterback firing the ball around. It's very encouraging stuff. And the eye in the sky don't lie. We got to get better on defense, though. I'm going to tell you, I'm concerned. I came into this season concerned about this defense. I'm concerned about this defense now. And there are only a handful of offenses that I think are going to be able to take advantage of what we do defensively if we don't tighten up. Like, I'm not afraid of any offense in our division, not a single one. But a team like Buffalo scares me shitless. Scares me shitless. If we don't get to Allen, if he escapes the pocket, guys are open down the field. And Allen is one of those dudes that's always looking to extend, and he'll make a mistake, and we know that. And we got to be ready to take advantage if he tries to have that Superman complex and he just refuses to give up on the play. We got to be ready to take advantage of that. But if we don't get to his ass, he'll make us pay in the secondary. If we got that faulty ass shit that I saw on film, where guys are running open through our secondary and Russ just either took his eyes off downfield or just didn't extend long enough, or he gave up on the play too soon. Josh Allen ain't giving up on shit. And he ain't taking his eyes from downfield until he makes up his mind, I'm tucking and I'm running. If we want to run past the pocket and open up gate, he will take off and run for 18 yards. He's not Russell Wilson. He's not Joshua Dobbs. He will run. So they got to tighten that shit up. But I'm encouraged. Definitely am. Anyway, let's get to in other news. We heard from Ron Rivera, Sam Howell, Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, a host of players. So we'll dibble and dabble there. We'll definitely talk about what Ron had to say, what Sam Howell had to say. We will get into our first look at Buffalo as we turn the page from week 2's performance against Denver to week 3 and the Buffalo Bills. So we'll talk about them and some of the challenges that they present and just kind of whet our palate with Buffalo. And then we'll get to social media maneuvers and what you guys have to say towards the end of the show. But before any of that, let's take a look at the injury report for both teams. Fresh week, new injuries, new concerns. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with as we head into week 3 with Buffalo. So, for the most part, this is a pretty clean injury report. And, a couple of new names on it, but, or a few actually, but I'm not concerned about most of them. Now, Daron Payne spoke to the media today, and because he did not practice, they specifically asked him, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm fine. I believe him. He tweaked his ankle a little bit in the game. He'll be fine. I'm not concerned about him. He'll be all right. I told you, if you're not going to practice, Wednesday's the day. I expect him to be out on the practice field, even if it's only in a limited capacity on Thursday. Expect him to be out there, and I expect him to play on Sunday. Logan Thomas, on the other hand, is not going to play this week. And Ron, said that he's still in the first or second phase of the concussion protocol. I think there are 4 phases, if I'm not mistaken. Look, we're not going to do the phase thing. Generally, when you get a concussion, you don't play the next week. Again, unless it's a mild concussion or it's not really a concussion at all. You may have had a few symptoms, but not really. Generally, the man was laying unconscious on the field. He's not playing on Sunday. Quan Martin, who missed last week's game with a concussion, probably going to be back this week. That's my guess. He was limited in practice today. Obviously, they're going to assess him and see what he feels like tomorrow. I'd venture to say that we'll see a full from him tomorrow. And I expect him to play on Sunday. For the rest of these guys, Curtis Samuel, he was on the injury report last week. I told you he was going to play. He did. He's a full participant today. There's nothing to see here. Nick Gates is a new entry on this list with a knee, but he was full today. So I'm not concerned unless tomorrow something changes with that. Then I'm like, hey, what's going on? But if we keep trending in that direction, again, nothing to see there. And then Brian Robinson Jr. was on the injury report last week with a hip. He's a full participant. He's going to be fine. So this is really clean by our standards. 3 weeks in, this is pretty damn clean, right? As you get to Buffalo's side of things, Terrell Bernard, their starting middle linebacker, he took over for the linebacker they lost in free agency to the Bears, Terrell Edmonds. It's Terrell, right? It's two of them. I always get them mixed up. Tremaine Edmonds. He took over for him. So if he can't play, that's a big loss. He's got a quad injury. He was limited today. I think he'll play. Leonard Floyd is a big one because they don't have Von Miller. They don't have a lot of juice off the edge. He is their best pass rusher currently off the edge, is Leonard Floyd. So if Gumby can't go, that's a big one for them. Ankle, we'll see. Didn't practice today. I put him in the same boat as Daron Payne. He's a veteran. You trust him. You don't need him to practice on Wednesday. If I had to guess, I'd say Leonard Floyd is playing on Sunday. But tomorrow will be a big day, right? If he's even limited tomorrow, he'll play on Sunday. If he's a DNP tomorrow, eyebrow raising time, okay? Micah Hyde, hamstring, did not practice. I think there's a realistic shot that he doesn't play. Realistic chance that hamstring keeps him out of the game. He's an older safety as well, so those hammies don't heal up as fast as they once did. We'll keep our eye on that because he's an impactful player for that back end of the secondary. Dawson Knox back, didn't practice. Again, we'll keep an eye. They got two of those boys now. So you remember the last time we played Buffalo, Dawson Knox kicked our ass. You know we got tight end issues. Well, they got two of them. They drafted the guy that most of you guys wanted in the first round in Dalton Kincaid. So even if Dawson Knox doesn't play, well, guess what? Your consolation prize is you get more Dalton Kincaid. So you're not going to escape. Okay. It's like playing the Philadelphia Eagles when they had Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Okay. One of them didn't play. You're still going to get the other one, right? That's kind of how I view this. And then Jordan Phillips with an illness, generally illnesses, I treat them like day-to-day type of situations. By Sunday, he should be fine. Okay. So I think he'll be playing. And he's actually a really good player for them, is Jordan Phillips. So that is your injury report for Wednesday. We will keep our eyes on those reports as the week progresses and see how it turns out for the good guys. So let's talk about all of the interviews that we had today. And we heard from the head coach, Ron Rivera. We heard from the starting quarterback, Sam Howell, and like I said, a bevy of players in the locker room. Start with the head coach, Ron Rivera. And I thought he said a lot of interesting things today. He talked about the defensive line and the growth that they've seen and how those guys push each other in practice. And it's just a really good environment. He talked about, with the defensive line coaches in particular, Ryan Kerrigan and Jeff Scanina, they pull guys on the side and they work on hand usage, which we've seen a much better job of our guys using their hands to defeat blocks, which I've always told you, hand usage is half the battle as an edge rusher, right? There's athleticism, hand usage, and then there's up here in the cabeza, right? Being able to outsmart your opponent, set things up. There's so many different layers to pass rushing, and you're seeing them take steps. So that's a good thing. And he kind of, expounded upon that. I thought Ron gave us some insight that I didn't previously have. I don't know if some of you may have had it, but I thought he pulled the curtain back a little bit. We know Ron can, say a little bit too much sometimes, but I didn't think that's what this was. I just thought this was pretty interesting. So Ron kind of explained the rationale. And I've explained this to you guys already, and he hit on a number of things that I've already touched on with you guys, and literally said the exact same thing I've been saying to you guys. So you feel good about that, right? Same with Sam. He said something that I've been preaching to you guys, and I'm like, I've been saying that. So it feels good to be validated by the players and the coach sometimes. But in talking about the long snapper, and he's like, it's so good to be just talking about football things and not off the field things. He said that, with Cam Cheeseman, they brought in those long snappers to kind of light a fire under him, so to speak. He said that, look, when I was playing, we didn't have guys being brought in to replace you, which was a good thing, right? That was before free agency existed. So your team was your team, and it was your team until you traded a player or, that player's contract was up. And then, if you wanted him back, he was back. If not, then that's how he could be on a different team. But there was no, hey, I'm leaving and I'm going to play for Green Bay, right? That didn't exist until 1992. So, or 93, excuse me. So he's like, we wanted to light a fire under Cam Cheeseman. And we brought in guys, we got all their contact information. But I told you guys the other day, like, what are you truly looking for from a long snapper? Like, he's a long snapper. You're not out there evaluating, does he still have juice like a receiver? You bring him in, can he still run? Is he still the guy that we knew him 3 years ago to be? He's a long snapper. All you got to do is snap the ball back to the holder on punts and on field goals. So they got all their contact information. They're hoping, and I told y'all, all they did was fire warning shots in the air. Pop, 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 pop. And they're hoping that Cam Cheeseman is able to deal with the warning shots that they let off, understand that, bro, like, we're serious here. Like, don't make me do this. And they're hoping he gets his shit together. Ron talked about, the quarterback position. He talked about, Sam. He talked about how teams are playing them this year, and the difference that Sam makes. But he talked about, the receivers and the skill guys and how those players also make it tough on the defense. And because we've been getting a lot of easy completions underneath. Like, for instance, Patrick Surtain was playing way off, and we threw 2 balls to De'Ami Brown right in front of him, almost back to back. And it felt like we were picking on Pat Surtain. Now, it wasn't man-to-man, and he wasn't pressing him, but he knows De'Ami can run. He knows Terry can run. Jahan can run. Curtis can run. So do you really want to get up too close? No, not really. Give you a little bit of space to operate. Keep everything in front of you. Because, again, in the NFL, the key is I'm not trying to give up anything cheap, anything deep. If I can make you work, that's going to be beneficial to the success of my defense. And Sam said this, and this is the thing I was going to say when I got to Sam, that I've been preaching to y'all about explosive plays. Sam's like, explosive plays are necessary because it's so hard in this league to go down the field on a 12, 13 play drive because you have to be perfect. If it takes you 3 plays to get a first down, right? You get 3 on first down, you get 3 on second down, you get 4 on third down, and you convert. That's cool. But it's hard to sustain that. Because what happens if you get 3 on first down, 3 on second down, and then it's 3rd and 4, and then your tackle jumps, and now it's 3rd and 9. Then what? You can't get the 4 yards, right? Now, need 9. What happens if you got a guy running wide open on a shallow cross on 3rd and 4, but it gets deflected, it's batted down? What happens then? You got to punt. The margin of error is greater when you get explosive plays, which is why I was complaining about them last week. which is why we scored 35 points. It's not a coincidence that you get all of these explosive plays on offense, the screens, the touchdown to Terry, the explosive runs. It's not a coincidence that you get that honey hole shot to John Bates and you get a freebie break before the half, a field goal. It's not a coincidence that you scored 35 points when you're getting all of these explosive plays. Because instead of you nickel and diming your way down the field in a holding penalty, derailing the drive, or a batted ball, you can have a batted ball on 2nd and 8. If you're going to get 27 on 3rd and 6 on a screen, doesn't really hurt you now, does it? You can overcome those things when you're getting explosive plays. So Ron talked about how big of a game this is, and he went into specifics on his mindset. And one of the things he mentioned when he talked about the defensive line, real quick before I forget, he talked about Star Lutulele and K'Wan Short, who he had in Carolina. And, you know, he talked about how he feels like John Allen and Deron Payne are better than them, but he almost didn't want to say it. I'm like, bro, they're better than them. Trust me. You know, Star was a really good player. K'Wan Short was really good, but these two are in a different league. These two are in a much, different league. But the thing that Ron said that really pulled the curtain back for me was he spoke about the linebacker position. And he talked about Jamin Davis and the ascent that they're seeing from him. And I think in the first 2 weeks, we've seen more explosive plays from Jamin Davis than we have in his first 3 years combined. Okay. The explosion from sideline to sideline, we saw it in week 1 against Arizona, right? First play of the game offensively for Arizona, they throw like a little out route and Jamin's all over it. Jamin forced a fumble. He had a similar play against Josh Dobbs last week. He didn't force a fumble, but he, tracked him down. 2 of them against the Broncos this week, including the forced fumble. Jamin's been around the action. So he's talking about Jamin playing really fast, which is what we want to see for a guy with 4.41 speed. You want to see him play fast. But with Cody Barton, a lot of people are down on Cody Barton. And I told everyone that was watching the film, I like Cody Barton. And even Ron said, hey, start a little slow. And I showed you in the film. Yeah, he started slow in the first half. I thought he played solid football in the second half. It wasn't clean by any stretch of the imagination, but it was better. And I was encouraged. And I like Cody Barton, right? And he said, look, here's the thing. Jack gives his defensive tackles a lot of leeway. And rightfully so. When you got playmakers like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, you don't want to stunt their growth. You don't want to muzzle their talents by saying, hey, we need you to be here, or we need you. Like, generally, I don't want my guys playing behind blocks, because when you do that, if you don't get to the ball carrier, you're opening up a sizable gap, and there's going to be some yards gained that shouldn't be there. But when you got Jonathan Allen, I'm not going to tell them to not play behind a block. I'm not going to tell them, hey, don't swim out of your gap. You know why? Because a lot of times when they do swim out of their gap, they're going and they're getting a 2-yard tackle for loss. You can't muzzle that. You don't want to stop them from being who they are, because who they are is what makes them the dominant player that we see on Sundays, Mondays, and some Thursdays, right? And he's like, so Jack gives them the freedom to kind of freelance up front. And really, it's the linebacker's job in this system to kind of play off of whatever the guys in front of them are doing. And that's tough to ask of your linebacker, especially when he just got here. So what I'm telling you, and I think why Ron did all of that, is because he wants you guys to ease up off of Cody Barton. Some of you guys have just been relentless on Cody. And I think it, just like you were with the offensive line, when I kept telling you this offensive line, not as bad as you think. You guys need to chill. A lot of you guys are out there really hypercritical of this offensive line. And I said, this line is not as bad as you think. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to be a top 10 line? No. Can it be top 15? Maybe, but I think it'll be on the outside of the top 15. But it won't be the 29th rated offensive line in the NFL, like some people predicted before the season started. It's a solid group, and they're only going to get better with more reps. Cody Barton is a solid linebacker in the NFL, and he'll only get better in this system with more reps. They trust him. They like him. I like his aggressiveness. He's physical. He's tough. He's going to get better. And Ron talked about that. And I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay. Pulling back the curtain a little bit. Ron talked about how important of a week this was and how important of a game. I hate when Ron does this. I like that he's candid about it because some coaches try to act as if it's not a big deal and it's just another game. And deep down inside, it's not. You know, when you get an opportunity to play against a team that is looked upon as a Super Bowl contender, it's a big freaking deal. Because as Ron said, it's a measuring stick game. You want to see where your team is. It feels like every time Ron does this, however, we don't play very well. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse as to why we will or won't play well, because I don't care about that. I just want everybody to be on the same page. If it's a big game and it's a big deal, everybody should view it that way. Brian Robinson says, no, it's just another game. So I don't like mixed signals and mixed messaging. If it's a big deal and you want the players to feel like it's a big deal, then that should be the unilateral message that's being conveyed by all the players. Hey, this is a big game. Playing a really good opponent. We really got to take them seriously. Not that you're not taking every opponent seriously. Not that you took the Arizona Cardinals for granted and they almost came in here and beat us. It's football. It's the NFL. Shit happens, right? But I don't want Ron putting a ton of pressure on them to win this game, and it's not a message that's being universally received by the entire team. If it's an important game, everybody should feel that way if the coach does. Or you're not doing your job as a head coach, right? So just a little food for thought there for me. But Ron feels like this is a big game. We all feel like it's a big game, okay? And I would like them to not come out flat. I would like them to not come out, be down 13 in the first quarter, and here we go again, right? I would like them to come out with that same energy that they had against Tampa a couple of years ago when we came off the bye week. We thought the season was over. We were 2-6. And let's just go out here and let's not embarrass ourselves. And Brady strolls in here, and within the first 3 possessions, we've already turned him over twice, and we never trailed in the game, and we beat him. Treat it like that. A little different circumstances. We're 2-0. You know, people want to see if we're for real, but I want to see them show up. And Ron said, and, you know, David Aldridge asked a great question. He phrased it, you know, properly, and it led Ron into an answer that I think is very, very telling about where we are as an organization right now and how big this game kind of feels in the grand scheme of things. David Aldridge pretty much said to Ron, with this organization being in a much healthier state and you're not having to answer a whole lot of things off the field, like one of the biggest issues right now in town is your long snapper. That's a great place to be, right? And Ron was like, yeah, like, seriously, this is a big deal, and I love it that we're talking about the long snapper and not some bullshit off the field. But with all that said, you're 2-0. This is a big game against a team that a lot of people view as a Super Bowl contender. They're coming to your place. It's sold out. Is this a game that you need to win to kind of prove that this thing is truly going in the right direction? Because if you lose this game, there are a lot of fans, and I've talked to a lot of you who said before the season started, which is part of the reason I even asked the question last week, how would you feel? Does this win, if we beat Denver, move the needle? Because a lot of you said to me, Hey, we beat Arizona, we beat Denver. That's fine. I don't care. I won't take them seriously until they beat Buffalo. Or it's the same old Commanders if they don't, which is not true because we haven't started 2-0 since 2011. So how could it be the same Commanders? But I get it. I understand. John Allen said, if you're a Commanders fan, you've been here a while, then you know we don't win that game on Sunday in the past. We don't. He's right. That's why we were so excited. Since Ron has gotten here, we've been down big like that in the first half a bunch of times, double-digit times. That's not the first time we've been down big in the first half of a game, and you look up and you go, what the hell? In that same exact spot last year, we were down 22 to the Lions. In a very similar spot where we go, what the hell did I just watch in the first half? What was that? We fought our asses off, but we lost. We fell short. 2 years before that, we did the exact same thing against Detroit. Same building. We're down 20 to nothing at halftime, I believe it was. Or 17-0, and they score on the first possession of the second half, and it's 24-0, or it's 27-0, something to that effect. And then we fought, and we fought, and we fought, and we scratched and clawed our way back in that game, and we tied it up. Before the Chase Young roughing the passer, that stupid coverage we played where it's 8 seconds left and we're 20 yards off and he throws a 9-yard pass. They get down, they call a timeout, and they kick a 58-yard field goal and beat us 30-27. We never win those games. We always fight and come back, but we don't win. We won. That's different. But in saying all of that, you really want people to believe? You really want to change the narrative? Beat Buffalo. All the ingredients are here. Beat Buffalo. And so Ron pretty much was like, yeah, no, this is a big one because everything that we've been working towards are for games like this, to prove that we belong, to prove that all the work, the sacrifice, the things that we've been through to this point, the roster building, the going through quarterbacks, trying to figure this out, cycling through different members of the coaching staff to get this program to where it is now, where we feel like we're in a great position. All of it is built to put us in positions to win games like the one on Sunday. Now we got to go out and do it. It's a big one. And Ron's hyping it up, making it even bigger. They better not come out flat. I know that much. So we heard from Sam, and Sam talked about a number of things. First of all, this is what I love about Sam. Sam's, I got to be better. I got to do this better. He's like, I made it tough on Joey twice in the game on Sunday with sacks and things that I did, which wasn't on him. Andrew Wiley getting beat around the edge by, Cooper and the ball getting slapped out, that's not on him. But in his mind, I'm the quarterback. I got to take responsibility. I got to fall on the sword. When we win, I'm going to be praised. I'll get all the glory. When we lose, I got to be the one willing to take that on the chin and say, hey, that's on me. I got to be better. That's what that comes with the description of being a quarterback and having a C on your chest. And that's unwritten. I shouldn't have to tell you that. This is why I used to struggle with Robert Griffin III. Is because, and Zach Wilson, for instance, right? Guys who didn't understand that, bro, whether it's your fault or not, it's your fault. And they're like, nah, it's not my fault. Y'all got to be better, which is why Justin Fields today had a press conference, and some of the things he said could have been misconstrued to feel like he's pointing the blame at his coaching staff and some of his teammates. He went back in the locker room when the media was meeting with the rest of the players, right? Like they do here in Washington and everywhere else around the league. And he went and gave another press conference to clarify his statements like, bro, I got to play better. It starts with me. To hell with anything else. I don't know if y'all felt like I was pointing the fingers. I got to play better, period. That's the way it should be. And with Sam, that's always the way it is. First thing he says is, hey, I can't take those sacks. Even if it's not on him, I can't take those sacks. I got to be better. I got some things I can clean up and be better at. And I can't put Joey in those positions. I got to be better. I love that. I love it. So, he talked about the screen game. And I remember I was telling y'all in the preseason when the shits weren't working, I said, guys, I'm telling you, this screen game is going to come to life. This is what they do in Kansas City. EB has been pounding these dudes on the screen game all off season. I'm telling you, this shit is going to work. Once we get continuity up front, when we're not, taking guys in and out of the lineup, trying to try different combinations, when we get the same 5 guys out there and they can just drill these screens, watch what I tell you. These things are going to start to look like they're supposed to look. And look what we got. We're going to have a real serious EB conversation tomorrow. I've been holding off on this because he speaks on Thursdays. And I was going to do it today. I said, no, he's going to speak tomorrow. It'll be the perfect time. We're going to have a nice EB conversation tomorrow. But he said EB is so detail-oriented when it comes to the screen game. And he's so particular about how guys release and how you set this up and getting it to different looks out of different formations and the shifts and the motions and, making it look like one thing, but it's something different. Like the screen that I put up on social media, like we all watched that screen. I can't tell you how you felt. I soiled myself. I needed a new pair of underwear seeing that screen. Okay. It was so beautiful. We don't do that here in Washington, just for the record. Okay. We're not the team that people look at and say, damn, did you see that play? How many times did we watch Kansas City and we come back and say, man, Scott Turner could never, right? Now that's us. You see a play from us and you go, well, goddamn, that shit was cute. That shit was beautiful. It feels good to be that team. And that's EB. That's the EB effect, right? So Sam talked about that. He talked about the trust that he's gaining with Terry, and, everybody wants to talk about that throw. That was a hell of a throw, right? I mean, why wouldn't you want to talk about that throw? That, especially when you see it from Sam's vantage point and you go, boy, bro, when you're looking at it from Sam's lens, it's 3 defenders. Now, again, I pointed this out in the film breakdown, so you guys know, but Terry, the corner was out leveraged. The safety, Justin Simmons on his side, Terry had already gotten even and passed him, so he was a non-factor. And Sam did a great job of staring down Cole Turner and widening that backside safety enough so that he could not be a factor in the play. Even if he got there, Sam could put it up top shelf and he couldn't get there in time to influence the play. It's still a hell of a catch. And when you see all of those things coming together and you see how that ball is placed, and you go, that's a ballsy throw, bro. And he was pinpoint accurate. And Terry went up and got that thing. And you should see Terry's smile. Go watch Terry's media scrum today when they brought that play up and they talked about the rapport that he and Sam are building and the trust that Sam had in him to throw that ball. Look at Terry's face. That tells you all you need to know. We're getting close, man. We're getting close to where Terry's going to start putting up numbers because he gets one-on-one and Sam looks at him and they know they got one-on-one. Like, we've never had that in Washington because there's never been a quarterback in the lineup long enough for you to build a rapport to where you look out there and you go, hey, we got single high safety. I can influence him. I can get him to start cheating over there with my eyes, and I'm coming to you, bro. And Terry knows right away I'm running the 9 route. I'm running the go ball, and we about to take advantage of this. Or I see you got one-on-one, safety's cheating to your side, but I know that this linebacker is coming over here, and he's in man coverage, and there's nobody here. Let's run the slant, right? Let's run the slant, you know, and he just give you a little sign or a little, you know, something behind his back. And I know he's running the slant. I'm going to get it to him. Like, that's where they're heading. We got a long way before we get there, but they're heading in that direction. And the more reps Sam gets, the faster he gets through his progressions, the more because there were sacks, and I showed you guys this on film. The very first possession, I want to say I think it was the second possession. Might have been the second possession. Or it was the third possession because we didn't score any points. The first possession, we should have scored points on. We missed a field goal. The second possession, we did get a field goal. Then the third possession, we didn't score anything. And Sam turns down Jahan wide open on a dig. And you're going, Sam, you're staring right at it. Why didn't you cut it loose? And he stayed on Terry too long. Terry was double covered, and he didn't come off of Terry fast enough. And had he just come off of Terry immediately and say, hey, he's dead. Okay, that read is dead. And he got to Jahan, easy completion, right? But he didn't do it fast enough. The more he plays, the more reps he gets, trust me, he won't miss that. He won't take a sack there. He won't miss that opportunity. So I'm really confident in Sam. He's like, the thing that he felt like he did better in week 2 than in week 1 was he was more sure of himself. He was more decisive. He made faster decisions. And even saying that, there were still times where he didn't. And that's the thing that you have to be encouraged by, is he took a huge leap from week 1 to week 2. And there's still more room for growth. And he was outstanding. 27 of 39, 299, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was outstanding. And there's still more room for growth. So he talked about the Bills and Josh Allen and this head-to-head matchup and how Josh Allen's one of the, better quarterbacks in the league and one of the funner ones to watch. He also talked about the Bills defensively. And he's like, look, they don't do a whole hell of a lot. They're not a very diverse defense in terms of giving you a ton of different looks, and they're coming from everywhere. He said, but what they do very well is they execute the shit that they run at a very high level. And so you pretty much know what you're going to get. Can you beat them at their game? Hey, this is what you're getting. For years, the Seattle Seahawks in the Legion of Boom, you knew you were getting cover 3. You already knew what it was. The question was, could you beat it? We know what we're going to get from Buffalo. At least they do. Can they beat it? Will they be in the right look when they dial up this play? Can Sam, manipulate a safety here and make a big time throw there? Can he get the ball out? Can the protection hold up? Can they run the football? These are all things that we'll be looking for in week number 3. We heard from a bunch of players in the locker room. I'll just go through this real quick. Brian Robinson talked about a number of things. It feels like he gets, as the game goes along, he gets better and better. He talked about how he is very impatient early in games and he has to calm down. He's like so amped. And instead of him allowing, like I told you, the patience that we saw from him in week 2 was uncanny. That's not what we have generally gotten from him, which is crazy because when we first got him, he was somewhat patient. We loved his downhill attacking nature and style, but he was a little bit more patient. And I think those delays forced him to be patient, right? It slowed him down because those guys are coming around and pulling. Well, if you don't give them a chance to get to the block, and you're too quick, then they don't get to contact, create that space, and allow you somewhere to cut off of the block. So by going with those delayed counters, it forced him to wait for the football, allow those blocks to come around and develop, and then he could kind of, pick his spots. So he's like, yeah, as the game wore on, I got more and more comfortable. I got more and more patient, and then things really started to open up for me. He definitely wants the ball more, and he's talked about that. And he was like, look, the crowd is behind us. You know, it's a long season and we want them behind us, and we got to keep doing everything in our power to keep them. I like that mentality. Understand what this is, you know? So this is a fan base that's been through a whole hell of a lot. And if you want them to stay by your side, you got to give them a reason. Like they want to come back. They want to stay. Give them a reason to do that, right? Change the narrative. That went on in Denver was huge. Now bring some of that energy back home and do it again. Jonathan Allen, you know, talked about in this league, you know, one of the things Ron talked about too, and this kind of ties into Jonathan Allen and what he said was, look, we haven't handled success well in the past. You know, obviously we've never been 2-0 since Ron has been here, but we haven't handled it well in the past. And so this is going to be interesting. And he keeps telling the players, be where your feet are. Understand that each week is different. You're back to being 0-0. Go out, find a way to make it 1-0. And understand that, you know, last week is over. Got to do it again this week. Challenge is greater this week, you know. And Jonathan Allen said, each week, it's the NFL. You got a chance to be humbled. The minute you start thinking that you're good, you're liable to be humbled. And we've seen that here in Washington quite a bit. So the message is clear. Go out. He said, Ron said, we got to have a clean week of practice. We got to have extreme attention to detail. Like I said, he's putting a lot on this game. I hope all of that works out for him. But Jonathan Allen's like, look, we already know. We've been here before. We've done that. We know what this is. We know that just because you won a couple games don't mean nothing. We've been on streaks with Ron. Every year we go on a streak with Ron. We've been here before. It just doesn't happen early. That's all. But we've done this before with Ron. So this isn't out of the ordinary. But can you continue it early and throughout the season? Consistency is the key. Terry, you know, talked about, you know, building a rapport with Sam, and that was a large portion of what he spoke about. He's not even on the injury report, so he's doing a lot better, which is a good thing. And I just think as he continues to go, and he talked about, you know, and when you listen to Terry, he'll give you some nuggets. You just got to listen. So Terry's like, yeah, Sam's, you know, continuing to work through his progressions, and he's getting better at that. Still got a ways to go, but he's getting a lot faster at going through his progressions. And when he's got time and he delivers a football, it's an accurate throw that allows us to have an opportunity to run after the catch. He's telling you what some of the issues were in the past, right? So as they continue to grow, they're going to get more and more opportunities. I thought Duran was really interesting today because he gave some real candid answers, and it wasn't, you know, I told you he's grown so much. He's getting used to the media now. And like before, if he didn't understand your question, he'd just give you like a 2-word answer and keep it pushing. Now he'll say, what do you mean? Like, you know, explain yourself so I can answer your question, you know, accordingly. So normally his media scrums would be, you know, 2 minutes max. He spoke for over 3 minutes today. And, you know, he talked about the sun, you know, being in his eyes and wearing sunglasses after halftime because it was so bright. He was like, bro, it was stupid bright. Like one of the brightest stadiums I've ever been in. And, you know, JP Finley was like, well, apparently it's brighter because you're closer to the sun at elevation. He's like, well, I could tell it was bright as hell. And so they were asking him, are you going to wear the sunglasses every week? And he was like, if it's sunny outside, I am. So that was funny. But he talked about, you know, getting off the ball and, you know, being dominant and making plays. And he's just having fun, man. You know, I love it when dudes are out just having fun. And that's what Duran said it last year. He's like, bro, I just want to go out and make plays. That's fun to me. You know, and you saw it. He's a special dude, man. I really like Duran. So let's get into our first look at the Buffalo Bills. Let's go ahead and turn the page and get to Buffalo. This is, and Ron said, look, don't mind their 1-1 record. We all got to see them in week 1. And that's what gave a lot of you confidence. I was confident before the season started. I said that this was going to be a win. I also said that we were going to lose to Denver. So it really doesn't matter how you get to your final record, your final destination. You just want to get there. But this is a big one, right? For various reasons. If you want people to take you seriously, and I've seen a lot of publications starting to take notice of what we're over here doing, but there's still people that don't believe. Like, hey, it was Arizona, it was Denver. You were down big. You can't get down big in games and expect to come back and win against good teams. I don't think they're for real yet. And look, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because I see, deficiencies in this defense right now that have to be addressed in order for us to take that next step. But with that D-line and with this offense and with the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, there's a chance. And so when I look at Buffalo, I watched them against the Raiders, and Josh Allen was damn near flawless. He started the game 13 of 13. He didn't have his first incompletion until they went for it on a 4th down, and he threw it to the tight end, who almost one-hand grabbed it for the touchdown. But that was his first incompletion. He was 31 of 37 in the game against Vegas. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's over 80%. Okay. On 37 attempts. So he was locked in, needless to say, after the rough game in week 1. And he's fully capable of that. He's fully capable of tucking the ball and running. We know that. He's a playmaker. He can throw off schedule. He's one of the best in the NFL. Now, with that said, he's one of the guys that is turnover prone. He led the NFL in turnovers last year. And he's a guy that will take risks, sometimes unnecessarily. I've talked about these things. You watch him play, you know that he's a guy that you can coax into a mistake or two, especially guys with big arms like him. They think they can fit the ball into tight windows, and they'll give their guys a chance down the field unnecessarily sometimes. But with that said, the good often and usually more than 75, 80% of the time outweighs the bad. So it starts with Josh Allen, because I think we can move the ball on their defense. They're a smart defense. They're very disciplined, but they're not the most athletically gifted defense. It's an older defense. They're not as fast, but they are very, very smart. And they are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And if you make the slightest mistake, they take advantage of it. But with our team speed, if we're able to make plays and execute at a high level, avoid the mistakes, the penalties, things of that nature, turnovers, we're going to have a shot. We're going to have a shot. When Josh Allen doesn't turn the football over, the Bills are undefeated. Okay? Now, they still win a large chunk of their games when he turns it over, but what I just told you lets you know how important it is to at least force one turnover from the Bills. Because if he doesn't turn it over, they're going to score a lot of points. Okay? That's one of the ways you stop Buffalo from scoring. They're aggressive. They go for it on 4th downs. If it's close, like this isn't one of those games where it's 3rd and 4, and they throw a 12-yard pass and it's incomplete, and you're like, oh, yeah, we got off the field. Nah, not necessarily. Not if they're at their own 48, they might go for it. Not if they're at the plus 48, they may go for it. Not if they're at their own 40 or at the Washington 42-yard line, they're probably going to go for it. This ain't one of those weeks where you go, oh, man, we got to stop. Not unless it's 4th and 8, 4th and 9. You can't be too comfortable this week. It's a different beast and animal that we're dealing with here. And he's a big son of a bitch. So you can't go back there like we've been doing in past weeks where Jonathan Allen is, reaching behind him and busting Joshua Dobbs in the head and then sacking him with one arm. That shit ain't gonna work this week. I think Deron Payne or somebody grabbed Russell Wilson by the back of his jersey and he ended up falling down. That shit ain't gonna work this week. You got to grab this big son of a bitch. Josh Allen is huge. And you got to corral him. And you might have to bring some friends with you. You got to be rough with him. Pause. It ain't going to be easy. But the Bills start and end with Josh Allen. You slow him down. I don't know if you can neutralize him. You slow him down. You got a shot to win. If he's having a field day, they go as he goes. If the offense gets going, then the defense gets going, and you're in for a long day. That's what happened to the Raiders. The Raiders went right down the field. Their first 15 scripted, beautiful. Went right down the field, scored a touchdown. They were up 7-0. Then Allen and company got the ball. They got a little something going. But I don't think they scored a touchdown. I think they might have got a field goal or something. And the Raiders got a field goal. I think it was 10-3. And then Buffalo got into their bag. And they might have scored a touchdown. It might have been 7-7, but they got into their bag. And then the offense got it going. And then the Raiders started to feel that momentum of the crowd and all of that. And it just was an avalanche. And that shit snowballed. It went down and it was over. Defense started kicking ass. Offense was already in 5th gear. And it just went sideways. We can't allow that to happen. You cannot allow that to happen. And some of that is going to be on our offense's plate to go out and set the tone. You go out and you score points. You put pressure on them to have to keep up with us, not the other way around. We're capable of doing that now. We can get into a shootout with Buffalo. That's allowed. Not before. Not when we had Taylor Heineke at quarterback. Not when we had Carson Wentz. Not when we had Dwayne Haskins. You can get into a shootout with Buffalo now. We got Sam Howell. He's fully equipped with all the weapons that he needs to go in there and get a dub. It's all about how we handle this situation. This is gonna be a really good test. It really is. I'm anxious to see how it goes. I really am. Anyway, we'll have more on Buffalo tomorrow. We'll really get in depth. We'll go behind enemy lines and we'll talk about what the Bills are talking about and really kind of see what it is we're up against with the Buffalo Bills. But let's get to social media maneuvers before we get out of here. See what you guys are talking about. And then we'll get out of here. So shout out to all my members of the mob. Shout out to my Patreon subscribers. Truly do appreciate you. And remember, not too long after this is done, I'll be getting that, dogs and pups out to you guys. Dogs and pups out to you guys for week 2. Molehead89. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. You know what it is. So glad to have you on board, mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Molehead89 some love. Welcome him with open arms to the MOBB. Molehead89, welcome to the squad. Also appreciate you jumping on Patreon and supporting there as well. Major Tud, stand up. We in the building. You know what it is. Newest member of the MOBB. Welcome aboard, mob. Y'all know what to do. I don't have to tell you. Major Tud, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Chalupa, thank you for becoming the newest member of the MOBB. Stand up. You in the building, mob. Open arms. Welcome all 3 of the newest members to the MOBB. Show them what it's like to be a member of this prestigious group, the best in the business, the MOBB. Welcome aboard, Chalupa. Glad to have you as a member of the squad. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou, hope you enjoyed your time off and all is well with the family. Likewise, I did enjoy my time away. I missed you guys, and I'm glad to be back. And I hope all is well with you and your family. And he asks, how concerned are you with the corners going up against Diggs and Davis this week? And why does it seem to take a half for the defense to show up? So Deron Payne actually talked about that. It's crazy that you brought that up, because one of the things Deron talked about was, the slow start. And he said, you know what? I can't speak to the entire defense. He said, I can speak specifically to me and why I get off the slow starts. He said, early in games, I'm feeling out the opponent, kind of studying his habits, things he likes to do, and how I can counter it. And then by the time we get to the second half, like you saw the first possession, I'm able to start getting off because I know what this guy's all about. He said, I got to be more aggressive from the start. I got to attack early and not just wait, and be feeling. It's almost like a boxing match. The first round is usually the most boring round of the fight. Why? Both fighters are kind of feeling out the other guy. How fast is he? If I feint, how does he respond to a feint, right? If I jab, what's his response to that? That might set up something later on in the fight where I say, hey, this is what how he moves. When I throw this jab, his first thing is to slide left. Well, if I throw the jab, he slides left, and then I come with this counter right, or this overhand right, I might catch him, right? Or if his tendency is when I throw the jab, he ducks, okay, I'm going to throw this uppercut then. I might catch him going down. I'm going up, bow. I might catch him flush on the chin in the night. You know what I'm saying? And so he's trying to figure out things I just got to be more aggressive early. So maybe that is something that could apply to the entire defense. Maybe they're coming out and they're playing a little tight. I don't know. It's hard to say. I can tell you this. Am I concerned with Diggs and Davis? Yeah, I am. Because the Broncos, Marvin Mims Jr. got off on us last week. And some of that, I think Jack was a little aggressive because he didn't think the Broncos receivers could really hurt us. They didn't do it the week before. And so I thought he might have been a little bit, aggressive and somewhat reckless because he didn't respect what they could do. And their rookie blessed us in a multitude of ways. And so if Marvin Mims Jr. can get off, yeah, you're damn right I'm concerned about Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I am. And their receivers were open for much of the day, running through our zone coverage. We saw Marvin Mims Jr. run by Emmanuel Forbes. Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. They got to make a believer out of me. I'm not sold on our secondary yet. Percival Butler, I'm not sold on him. And he's playing a lot more as we've gone through the snap counts. You've seen he's on the field quite a bit. He's got to make a believer out of me. He's got to make a believer out of me. Can we take advantage of opportunities? That's 2 weeks in a row. We've had opportunities for picks, and we've dropped all of them except one. We've dropped all of them except one. So they got to make a believer out of me. So, yes, I am concerned. Absolutely. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Cook and Kincaid, skill sets, Diggs, Davis, vertical threat, Allen's rushing. They have everything to expose the D. EB and Sam got to put up 40 plus to get the dub. I don't know if they got to put up 40. That's a bit of a stretch, but I understand what you're saying. I think you went to the extreme end of the spectrum to hammer home your point, which is, hey, they have a diverse offense and they're fully capable of putting up 35, 38 points in this game, and it might take a 40 burger to get it done, right? Very, very plausible that this is a 36-34 shootout. Very plausible, right? I mean, who had 35, 33 with Washington and Denver? Not I. We were joking all week, the first team to 20 wins, right? Clearly that was not the case. Clearly, that was not the case. They got everything, like you said, to expose this defense. I'm nervous because I told you that the one part of the team that I was concerned about was the defense, specifically the secondary. Even though I think it's a very talented unit, I'm still skeptical as to how all of the pieces mix and match together. And can we get everybody on one accord? Can we stop the run consistently without having to go to the Cinco package? You know, can we hold up on the back end when the pressure doesn't hit home? It didn't appear that way against Denver last week. So I am nervous. Like you said, Cook and Kincaid and Knox and Diggs and Davis and Allen's rushing ability. Yeah, it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with. We're going to find out a lot about this defense. If they are what they say they are, we'll find a way to muck up Buffalo's offense, and this thing won't get into the mid to high 30s. If we can't, and they score 28, 29, 30 points, I'd be lying if I said I was disappointed, because in order for us to be the team we want to be, we're going to have to slow down high octane. I'm not telling you we got to do what the Jets did to them, turn them over 4 times and reduce them to less than 20 points. I wish that were the case, but that's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. But I will say this. You know what? I'll save that for tomorrow's show. Save that for tomorrow's show. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, if there's one thing Sam really needs to clean up, is taking sacks. He's tied for second in the league in sacks and is second in sack yards. That's a no-brainer. I mean, that's the thing this goes all the way back to college. He took sacks in college as well. Like, this is a part of his DNA because, again, I've talked about this. When you are a playmaker, when you see yourself, and I think this is what Josh Allen struggles with as well, because when he was at Wyoming, he was the playmaker. He had to make everything happen. He had to extend plays. There was nobody else that was going to make big plays. If he didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done. And when you embed that in your brain, you take that to the next level. When he first got to the NFL, the Bills weren't good. There was no Stephon Diggs. He had to make all of the plays. Remember that dumb turnover he had in his first ever playoff game on the road at Houston, where he pitched the ball backwards and it fumbled, and luckily enough for him, Houston didn't recover, but everybody said, what the hell are you doing, man? You can't do that in a playoff game. Are you crazy? When you are the main source of offense for your team, and if you don't do it, it's not going to get done, you develop this concept of, I got to do it. I have to be the one to do it. And in the NFL, you got to trust that the other guys are going to do their job. And if the defense has your number on that play, they got your number. Sam said something today that, struck a chord, and he said, I got to do a better job of finding incompletions. You rarely hear quarterbacks say that, right? Find incompletions. But if it's not there, I got to find an incompletion. I can't take a sack, because an incompletion is better than an 8-yard loss. And he said, I can't put Joey Sly in those positions. I can't put Joey in those positions. So this is a carryover, I believe, of him being at Carolina. And De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome and Michael Carter and Javonte Williams and 2/3 of his offensive line all, going to the league, and him having to fend for himself and have to rush for 1,100 yards and be the main source of offense, and knowing that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. I think he still has that mentality. It's hard to shake that once that becomes ingrained in you. So he's learning. They're systematically trying to take that out of his game, but it's a process, and we're going to have to take the good with the bad on that. Sovereign Legacy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Sovereign Legacy writes, hey, Lou, what's up? I want to say not playing fantasy football this year was the best decision for me. This is so goddamn exciting to watch. look, I'm not a fantasy football player. I've said that numerous times, but I encourage everybody to do the thing that makes you happy. And if fantasy football is something that you really enjoy doing, do it. I just know for me, it's a conflict of interest. Okay. Because I want to win. I can't do anything and say, well, no, Washington is playing the Eagles. I got DeAndre Swift. I need 20 points from him in this game to win. I want to win. But I don't want him kicking our ass. It's a conflict of interest. I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to do that, right? So it's not fun for me because that's not fun. Having to choose between my team and an individual player. It's not fun. I'm not gonna load up my team with a bunch of my team's players because, again, that's not smart. If those players aren't better than other guys that are out there that I put on my team. So that's why I've never been a fantasy football guy. But again, to each its own. Jado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Jado writes, what up, Lou? What up, Jay? Though says, I have faith that we get the job done. Faith is good, but faith don't win you games. They're going to have to go out and execute and do some of the things they did against Denver offensively, and they're going to have to do some of the things they did defensively against Arizona if they're going to get this win. We'll see what the team does, though. Spence Collis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I just want nice things, a.k.a. a 3-0 start. Don't we all, Spence? Don't we all? But we're going to have to play a really good brand of ball. Like, I like where we sit here at 2-0 going into this game because the assumption is, and I haven't even, I'm going to save the line and all of that stuff for tomorrow. But the assumption is Buffalo is going to beat us. Like, I don't know if you had a chance to go over to the Super Friends channel and watch LB break down the NFC East, and he gave us a lot of backhanded compliments. I was ashamed that some of you who went into the comment section and said, oh, that was a pretty fair and unbiased. No, that shit was biased as hell. Gave us a bunch of backhanded compliments. He didn't even get our record right at the end of our breakdown. He's like, yeah, they're 0-2. No, we're 2-0. And he's like, yeah, they're going to lose to Buffalo. He just dismissed us, right? Oh, yeah, they're going to lose to Buffalo anyway. Nah, I don't want that shit. You can keep all those backhanded compliments. Don't compliment sandwich me. I'm not 5. Thank you very much. Keep that shit. So he still doesn't think Sam Howell is any good. Nah, F that. Don't worry. We're coming for ours. We got to change the narrative. You want respect? They won't give it to you. You got to go and take it. This is an opportunity to take respect. You want it? There it is. Go get it. It's right in front of you. You're at home. You've won 2 in a row. You feel good about your quarterback. You feel good about your offense. You can play better on defense, a lot better on defense, but you love your defensive line. All the ingredients are here. There's the respect. It's right over there. You can see it. Go get it. We'll see if they go get it or not. JB Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JB writes, Josh is too unpredictable. Washington wins 28-20. That's part of the reason why he's dangerous. He is too unpredictable. I like the predictable quarterback. I like playing Josh Dobbs. I know what he's capable of and what he's not capable of. Okay? That's what makes it a much easier task, if you will. That's why I like playing against Russell Wilson, even though he was carving us up at the beginning of the game. I know he really doesn't want to run. You know? I know that his tendencies. I know what he's capable of. I know what he's not capable of. I know what he's comfortable doing. I know what he's not comfortable doing. That's why I'm not afraid of Jalen Hurts. Know what he's good at, know what he wants to do, know what he's not really capable of doing, what he doesn't want to do. Feel good about that. That's what makes Daniel Jones hard for us. He's unpredictable. What Daniel Jones is going to show up? The one that's going to throw 2-3 interceptions, fumble 2 or 3 times, or the one that's going to come out and carve our ass up and run for 112 yards? We never know. Josh Allen is a loose cannon, and that's what makes him dangerous. That's the same thing that kind of makes Sam Howell dangerous. It's the same thing that makes Patrick Mahomes dangerous. You don't know now, do you? That is why I am terrified. But while I am terrified of what he is capable of, I am more confident and resolute in my belief in Washington this time around than any other time that we've played a team of this caliber, i.e. Buffalo or Kansas City or any other teams that we know are fully capable of running the checkup, running the digits up on the scoreboard. This is the first time I've had any confidence whatsoever in our team's ability to compete with said team. So it gives me a little bit more belief that, hey, we can do this. But again, that bullshit we pulled the first 2 weeks, lackluster performance against Arizona, 3 first-half turnovers, that shit ain't going to fly against Buffalo. Coming out of the gates, giving Denver anything they want on offense, giving up pressures and missing field goals with bad snaps and being down 21-3, that shit ain't going to fly this week. Ain't going to fly. Ain't going to cut it. You got to eliminate all the bad from the first 2 weeks, hone in on all of the good, package and bottle that shit up, and that's the thing that you got to throw in this Molotov cocktail against Buffalo. Everything in that bottle has to be good when that shit explodes. When you throw it and it breaks, it's got to be all good shit. It can't be the 3 turnovers. It can't be the 6 sacks. It can't be the 8 penalties for 70 yards. It can't be the missed opportunities to pick off passes that are there within your grasp. It can't be the 70, 60, 70-yard touchdown bomb. It can't be the 45-yard deep ball down the sideline. You think Josh Allen's going to miss a wide open Khalil Shakir on 3rd down as we blow zone coverage? Think he's going to throw it where he's got to jump and dive down on the ground and try to get up to get? No. He's going to hit him right between the 1 and the 8. And he's at 1 and the 0. I think he's 10. Right between the 1 and the 0, and his ass going to keep on running for the first damn down. You think Dawson Knox or Dalton Kincaid runs an arrow route in the red zone at the 4-yard line and is wide open for a touchdown? You think Josh Allen is going to zoom it by him at 101 miles an hour? You think he's going to put it between the 8 and the 8, stick it right on his chest for a touchdown? I know which one he's going to do. So do you. We got to tighten up. Jado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, the media is slightly trying to praise Howell now. Of course, that's what the media does. This is what the media does, right? They dismiss you. They act as if, you're not capable. Then when you start doing things, they start comparing you to guys who aren't good, and they start trying to build you up that way. Like I saw, shout out to Miss Perry. She sent me something from some guy that works for one of these stations, CBS Sports, Fox, ESPN something. I don't remember who he works for. But he said something, and I was like, she sent it to me, and I listened to it, and the title told me everything I needed to know, right? He literally said, Sam Howell is already better than Zach Wilson. Duh. Thanks, but I already knew that. And he starts to explain himself, and I'm like, I could have told you that before the season started, dude. You needed 2 weeks to figure that out. I could have told you that and saved you the 2 weeks. You went off of the fact that he was a 5th round pick and Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick, and you just dismissed our guy because he was a 5th round pick. That's what the media does. They take the low-hanging fruit. A lot of these guys don't do homework. And I get it, you're busy. It's easy for me to do all this homework. I ain't doing shit else. You got all this stuff pulling you in different directions, but sometimes it's just a simple Google search. Just a little bit of homework, just a couple of minutes of you watching this guy would tell you all you need to know. Talking to a few people, using some of your resources, but they don't do that. They take the low-hanging fruit, they run with it, and then when the narrative shifts, they try to act like they've always been down. Like he throws that out there so he can say, hey, I was talking about him being a good quarterback back in September. No, you weren't. Good try, though, buddy. Let me check the tape from July. What was you saying back then when you were talking about Washington? Bet you won't keep it. You didn't have that same energy then, did you? What I want to take this shit. I don't want nobody giving us nothing. Don't give me nothing. I don't want it. You see what Prime did? That's why everybody get mad. You see what Prime's like, no. Don't try to jump on the ship now. You were talking shit 2 weeks ago when we were 20-point underdogs at TCU. You were talking cold, hard cash, writing all kinds of reckless articles. Don't try to believe now. Don't be all in now. I told y'all we was coming. Keep that same energy. I got receipts. That's how I'm over here with mine. I don't want the shit. Because I'm rubbing it in your face when it's all over. So don't try to jump on board. The only fans that I will allow who didn't believe to jump on are Washington fans. Those are the only ones you get a pass. But anybody outside the fan base, I got all kinds of smoke waiting on them. Anyway. C-Trill. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, same way we got to come prepared. They do too. 3-0. You right. They can't like you can't circle us on the schedule no more. Like we not what we once were, I'm anxious to see what this sellout look like. How many Bills fans and the players are they're rational. All right. They understand that the Bills travel. Ron has already said, hey, they travel. So we already know there's going to be a big contingency of Bills fans there. We just got to see how much, damage they do inside the building. You're hoping that it's no more than 30, right? You're hoping it's 70-30 us. Because we know they're fully capable of making this shit 55-45, 60-40, which is tough. But, Ron was like, what we aiming for when we get this shit rolling is 90-10 for a team like Buffalo who travels, still keeping them out of your building, right? Opposing fans going to infiltrate your stadium. I don't give a shit who you are. Certain areas is a lot tougher, Certain areas is a lot tougher to get into the building because they're diehards, is in the middle of nowhere, and they ain't got shit else to do. They're not selling their tickets. They come into the game, But our stadium ain't one of them. We got transient fans. It's a transient, city. A lot of people coming that are transplanted here via military or the government. And so, this is one of the easier tickets to get your hands on. You're going to have all kinds of it's Washington and Arizona in week 1, and you probably got a Ravens fan at the game. You got a Saints fan at the game. You're like, what the hell are you doing here? Your team's on right now. What are you doing here? I don't know. People are weird. Anyway, I said all of that to say this. You're absolutely right. They got to prepare for us just like we got to prepare for them. And if they don't come with their A game, they could get smoked here too. We can make a statement on their ass. Highly unlikely. Not impossible. Once upon a time, it was impossible. We had to hope that they made mistakes and we could eke out a 20-17 victory with them turning it over 4 times, like the Jets did. That used to be our life, right? That used to be us. That was like looking into a crystal ball. That was like looking into our past, watching the Jets beat the Bills on Monday Night Football in week 1. We're not that team no more. If they come in here half-stepping, turning it over, making mistakes, they can get done up 33-20. They can get done up 34-17. We can double them up. Highly unlikely, but not impossible. To your point, yeah, they do got to prepare for us. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that was the last super chat. So we'll get out of here. I appreciate everybody kicking it with the kid tonight. I know tonight was a little bit later than normal. I apologize for that. We'll get back to a level of normalcy next week. I promise. So feels good. Feels good to be back. And it feels good to be talking about a 2-0 team looking to go 3-0 at home in week 3. And so we'll talk about that in greater detail tomorrow on the show. We'll go in depth behind the scenes talking about Buffalo tomorrow as well. And I really want to have an interesting conversation about EB with you guys tomorrow as well. So all of that on tomorrow's show and more. Look forward to having that conversation on those conversations with you guys. But until then, it's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commander's Nightly News. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Until next time, you guys take care. God bless and good night.